I don't know who needs to hear this today, but make today count. There comes a point in everyone's life when they realize that they have fewer days ahead than they have behind. And this can be a very difficult reality to deal with. Some people go through what we call a midlife crisis as a result of this reality. Others struggle with depression as a result of this reality. I think the best way to deal with this reality is to make every day count. Of the 990 hymns in our songbook, today's hymn inspiration would always be on my top 5 list of favorite hymns. The harmony is heavenly and it is mated perfectly with the words. And the words of this song should be read and meditated on as much as it is sung. The events surrounding the writing of this song actually occurred 200 years before the song was written. Samuel Rutherford was the son of a successful Scottish farmer, and he was born around 1600. We don't know the exact date. In 1621, he earned his master's degree from the College of Edinburgh and was hired as their humanities professor. While there, he also started being the minister of a small parish church in Galloway, Scotland. He was a very charismatic guy. He was also opposed to the state church, which caused him some problems. In fact, eventually he was banished to Aberdeen because of his opposition to the state church. Even in his banishment, though, he wrote hundreds of letters to his congregation, letters to comfort them, letters to give them instruction and guidance for his preacherless congregation. Ultimately, he was charged with high treason because of his opposition to the state church. Fortunately for Rutherford, the summons came too late. By 1660, he was on his deathbed, and it is actually recorded that on his deathbed, his final words, his dying words, were, "Glory, glory dwelleth in Emmanuel's land." 200 years later, Anne Ross Cousin became fascinated with the writings of Rutherford, and she happened upon these letters that had been saved, that had been preserved, that Rutherford had written to his congregation. She learned of his dying words, and those dying words became the inspiration for today's hymn. But what is this hymn? What is this one of my 5 favorite hymns in the songbook? What is this hymn that was 200 years in the making? Take a listen, and I'll be back. if you paid special attention to the song, you noticed how the somber melody and especially harmonies match beautifully with the solemn words of the hymn. Yes, the sands of time are sinking. The question is, what will we do with that truth? Let me suggest to you to make the most of your time. Make the most of your time, as Paul said, for the days are evil. I want to encourage every single one of you to each day intentionally, deliberately do something to make the most of your day. And I believe one of the best ways that we can do that is be a blessing to others. You know, I don't generally like using personal examples because I don't want to come across as bragging or patting myself on the back. And there's also that whole don't let your right hand know what your left hand is doing thing. But despite that, sometimes personal examples are necessary to illustrate a point or perhaps to get someone else's creative juices to flowing. And so allow me to share two small examples that have had a pretty big impact on my life. During the height of the pandemic, when a bunch of businesses were shut down, unemployment was a very real thing. People were struggling to make ends meet. Even those who could make ends meet, when they went to the store, sometimes could not get what they wanted or needed because of the shortages that were going on. Well, it was during this time, and when I had a very real awareness of this, that I was running some errands, and I decided that I wanted a cherry limeade from Sonic. And so I went to Sonic and I pulled into the stall, and the first thing that I heard over the speaker was, "We just want to let you know we are short-staffed today. We only have one person in the kitchen. There's going to be about a 20-minute wait. Is that okay?" And I thought to myself, it's ridiculous to sit here for 20 minutes for a $1.80 cherry limeade. But I wasn't in a hurry. And so I said, that's fine, and I ordered my cherry limeade, and I'm sitting there and I'm waiting, and I noticed that not only was there only one person in the kitchen apparently, but there were only two car hops. One was working the entire left side of Sonic, and the other was working the entire right side, and they were running their legs off. Before too long, the car hop working my side delivered food to the vehicle that was next to mine. My windows were down, their windows were down, and the person in the vehicle began to be aggravated, angry with the car hop because of the wait. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, you knew this, you agreed to this wait before you placed your order. And as the conversation went on, I was about to get out of my truck and do something that is very out of character for me, open my mouth, but then the car hop was able to resolve that issue, and before too long, my cherry limeade was delivered. Well, again, I was very aware of the circumstances around the pandemic and unemployment and people being short-staffed and those who do show up working extremely hard and then being criticized for it. And I had a $20 bill in my wallet, and I don't know what made me decide to do this, but I decided that when my $1.80 cherry limeade came out that I was just going to give that $20 bill to the car hop and just tell her to keep the change. Well, when I did that, she started to tear up. To the best of my knowledge, I've never missed that $20 bill. I have never not been able to fill up my truck. I have never not been able to go to the store and get groceries or whatever else because of what I did that day. And yet that obviously had a very, very big impact on this individual. The second example involves Walmart. Every time I go to Walmart, as I am walking in, if somebody is in my lane and finishing emptying their buggy, I will just say, would you like for me to get your buggy for you? Now, in fairness, it's a little self-serving, because if you've ever been to the Lebanon Walmart, you know that if you walk into the Walmart without your buggy, chances are you're going to have to turn around, go back outside, and get your own buggy. So it's a little self-serving, but every time I go there, if someone's in my lane finishing emptying their buggy, I will ask them if they would like for me to get that for them. And every single time I am surprised. You would think I would eventually get used to it, but I am surprised at how grateful these people are simply because I asked them if I could take their buggy for them. I saved them 10, 15 steps maybe, and yet the gratitude is just, it's unbelievable. And it demonstrates to me how unkind our world has become, how self-interested or whatever that our world has become. Those are just two very small examples that for whatever reason have stood out in my mind. And so every day I want to encourage you, as I try to do, to make the day matter. And one of the ways that we can make the day matter is by just a small act of kindness. Letting our lights shine. Making the most of our time. Because the sands of time are sinking. I've got nothing but big love for you. I hope everyone has a great rest of your day.